All right. All right, what time do we have? Ooh. So Sue Colby. Sue, you're in now, right? Because I can see you. I know you were having difficulty.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Good. Okay. All right. So we're just waiting for Ben. Here's Ben. Okay. All right. So now we can start this meeting. It is 6:01. And I am going to have us roll call in. Okay, Megan
Megan Harvey here.
and Maren,
Aaron Goldstein here.
Ben,
Ben Hersey here.
Lori,
Laurie Garcia here.
and the mayor. Is the mayor here yet? Okay, but we can start. Cynthia Kwasinski here. So I know the mayor will be joining us in a minute, and we have at least a quorum. So welcome, everybody. Let's start with our announcements. Do we have correspondence?
We do have correspondence. I have 2 emails to summarize for the group. We received an email. Let me shuffle my pieces of paper here. We received an email from Lindsay Mailer concerned with how students were marked if they were absent on December 17th, with some indications that, perhaps that should have been an excused absence, given that that was the day when there was that viral message going around at the school. The district did recognize it, although they sent a message, and she said this in her email. There was a message that there was no harm and that the school was aware of it. But if parents chose to keep their children home that day, she requests that those be considered excused absences rather. We also have an email from Leah and Ben Ewing, who wrote to us about the Wait Till 8th program, telling us about parents who are talking to each other at the elementary and middle school level about this program, Wait Till 8th. And the email provided some nice overview of that program, in which essentially it's sort of a grassroots parent commitment to each other to wait to get their children's smartphones until at least 8th grade. And they are looking for and hoping for support from the district for that. And those are the correspondences this week.
Okay. And do we have gifts?
Yes, we do. I would like to make a motion to approve with gratitude and appreciation from Matthew Still, Eastern Action Sports Team, in collaboration with the elementary PTO, for the generous donation of the BMX bike show provided to Center and Pepin school students.
I second that.
Okay. And Megan,
Megan Harvey, yes.
Maren,
Aaron Goldstein, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Lori,
Laurie Garcia, yes.
Cindy Kwasinski, yes. Okay, thank you. So now we're going to open up to public comments. Again, I'm asking that you hold comments to 3 minutes and you say who you are, and please indicate now if you would like to talk to us. Okay, Maddie has a hand raised. Go ahead, Maddie. You're on mute, so I need you to thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Hi, my name is Maddie McDougall. I'm here with my colleague Grace. We are from Resilient Community Arts, and we also popped into the city council meeting last week to share an announcement about a youth program we are offering here. So we are a brand new nonprofit that's based in Eastworks, and we are teaming up with the Color Collaborative, which is another collaborative collective art space in Eastworks, to offer after school programming. We are hosting a kids creatives group for ages 7 to 11 on Mondays and Wednesdays, and an after school teen studio for ages 12 to 17 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. More importantly, we are here to announce that we have the funding to offer 4 scholarships, specifically to teens, to allow students with an interest in the arts and are motivated by self-directed learning to come and use the studio space and commit to 4 sessions a month free of charge. We're able to open up those scholarship spots monthly, and then at the end of the month, if a student would like to renew their scholarship, they'll have that option. So we just wanted to share that information here, and if you have questions, you can contact info@resilientcommunityarts.org, or you can also go to resilientcommunityarts.org/programs to find out more.
Thank you. Anybody else? If you would like to talk, please raise your hand or signal. Okay, I don't see anybody indicating that they want to speak. So we will close public comment. All right. Dr. Leclerc, I'm looking at the email and the Healthy Youth update that is being postponed until March. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, unfortunately, the presenter had an issue related to COVID, and they couldn't make it this evening. So I said we would postpone it. We already have 2 presentations slated for our one meeting in February. One of them being the program of studies, which we really couldn't move, and the other being the school time discussion, which I didn't want to put off because we had already moved that once. So I asked them if they would be willing to come the first meeting of March, and they said yes.
Okay, thank you. And now it's time for your superintendent update.
Okay, great, thank you. So the first is an announcement that we received from our Representative Carey, but we also learned from the Department of Ed that we have secured a grant from the Department of Ed in the amount of $161,000. It's a competitive grant, so we were excited. We don't normally make mention of every smaller grant that we get, but this was a pretty big one, and it was around SEL, social emotional learning, which you know has been a priority in the district, also a priority of this committee. So Julianne went after this grant. It will help us fund a counselor at the high school, which is desperately needed for the young people at the high school that are experiencing all kinds of anxiety and trauma. And, you know, we have great counselors there, but they're just not enough. So we're thrilled to be adding another counselor to the cadre. It's also going to help us with some curriculum materials and with some stipends for training for staff to be motivated to participate in some of the trainings that we're going to offer. It will be a multi-year grant, so there's an opportunity for us to continue applying for it, you know, after 2 years. And so we hope that once we get in that path, that we'll keep going with it. So I just thought that was a really positive one to mention to everyone on the committee. So that's number one. Kudos to Julianne Levin for writing that, and she did a great job. The second one is, well, actually, I'll do the calendar next, because I know COVID with you guys is always a bigger discussion. So I'll do the calendar next. As many of you know, we had to call off school at Maple last week. I can't remember which day. I think it was Tuesday, the day after Martin Luther King, because we had about 3 feet of water in the basement in the boiler room, and they had to turn the boiler off and then get rid of the water and then repair the boiler. So we couldn't have school on Tuesday. So we need to make up that day or add it on to the end, you know, whatever we want. But adding it on to the end, it puts us kind of off kilter with the rest of the school community. So a suggestion that we have, and we're asking for this committee to just take a vote to adjust the calendar. We would like to make up the day for Maple Elementary School this Friday, January 28th, which is a professional development day in the district. It will allow the students to make up that day now and not have to add it on at the end of the school year. It will put the kids back on track with the rest of the district, and the teachers will add on the professional day at the end of the school year, which will be timely for them because they'll be packing up to move. So we just think it's a solution to that one day that we're kind of off the rest of the district. So we don't need to change it for the entire district. I want to be clear for anyone listening. This is only for Maple Elementary School. It's just an adjustment for that building to make up the day. Everyone else will still have their no school day. Teachers will have their PD day. The union is in support of this, both at the leadership level. We checked with them. We also surveyed the staff at Maple, and this was the decision that they felt most comfortable with. So I think we need just a vote from the committee. And I know normally you like to hear something and then vote on it at the following meeting. And I'm asking you to waive that tonight for this emergency situation.
Mayor?
Yeah, so how interesting that this comes up. So my understanding on the rules, and certainly this is an emergency situation opportunity, and is that we would need to take a vote to suspend rules and then on a 2/3 and then vote on the makeup day this Friday. Is that correct? Yeah, I'm
believe you're right.
overall, this makes a lot of sense, Allison.
Yeah.
I want to get the procedure right.
That would be my understanding. Sue, are we looking at the same information? Not hearing from Sue, but I'm pretty sure that the mayor is correct, that we vote first to suspend the rules for this one vote, and then we take the vote. Okay? So do we have a motion to suspend the vote for this purpose?
I will make the motion to suspend rules for this purpose.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All right. Megan,
Megan Harvey, yes.
Aaron,
Goldstein, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Lori,
Laurie Garcia, yes.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, yes.
and Cindy Kuzensky, yes. Okay, so now does someone want to make a motion to approve Dr. Leclerc's proposal to make up the day on this Friday and have the PD for Maple staff only be at the end of the school year?
I will make a motion to allow there to be a change from the scheduled PD day, which was scheduled for this coming Friday, to be moved to the end of the year only for Maple Street School to allow the students to get back with the rest for the calendar.
Second.
Okay, all right, any more discussion? All right, Megan,
Megan Harvey, yes.
Maren,
Maren Goldstein, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Mayor LaChapelle,
Mayor LaChapelle, yes.
Lori,
Laurie Garcia, yes.
and Cindy Kuzensky, yes.
Thank you. And just so you all know, and so people watching know, we put some of these pieces in motion last week. We have food service, transportation. We've already notified the families that this is tentatively happening. So kind of, we set this all in motion knowing that you would most likely approve it. But I don't want anyone to be worried that parents will be hearing this for the first time tomorrow and be
Excellent.
punting from there. And now COVID. So a few things, COVID is just always on our agenda lately. A few changes that have occurred since our last meeting. So there's a new testing program that has been introduced by the governor last week for K-12 schools, and it is to provide at-home testing kits for staff and families to allow for everyone in a school district that participates to have the opportunity to be tested 2 times per week, once by taking part in a pool testing option, and the second by taking part in an at-home test. And we would want to stagger them a few days apart. And it's for vaccinated and unvaccinated students and adults in an effort. The purpose is really to allow people to get tested 2 times per week to put people's minds at ease more that we're catching COVID in a more timely manner and not, just every 7 days doing a sweep. So we have opted into this program, and I'll give you a little background on that. We participated in some informational webinars last week, we being Sarah Mochak and I, and then we held an emergency COVID response meeting last week. We included the city health department. Megan was on that call. Our nurses were on that call. And we all decided that this testing option was in the best interest of our students and our staff. So we moved forward with that decision because we had to opt in last week for timely distribution of the kits. We also notified the Board of Health as per the recommendation from the governor. So we took all the appropriate steps last week. The kits have actually arrived for staff. They arrived today, and we're starting that distribution on Thursday to staff so that they get kits. And then students will start receiving their kits that will go home to them next week. So I'm informing you of this change by taking part in this new program. We are letting go of contact tracing and test and stay. And at our last meeting, we had a very long discussion about test and stay. And now the option, I don't want to say has been taken away from us, but if you participate in this new program, you lose the option of test and stay. So I want people to understand we're no longer going to be doing that. And the rationale from the Department of Public Health and from the governor is that in the long run, test and stay had a very important purpose, but really after following the data since the beginning of the school year, 98.6% of test and stays of the tests that were given were negative. So it really was not something that was reaping a lot of positive cases. It wasn't really catching positives because ultimately school is not a place where there's a lot of spread of COVID. It's out in the community, and test and stay is not a part of community transmission. The other thing we let go of is contact tracing. And I know that that gets some people anxious. And I have said to this committee before that contact tracing was getting a little out of control. I think it's important for the public to understand, and Megan may want to chime in because she has much more knowledge in this than I do, but the state is not doing contact tracing. Our city health department is not doing contact tracing. Contact tracing is really not happening in the state of Massachusetts right now. So I don't think that people really fully understand that. I think that people are thinking that we're trying to let go of a responsibility. And the reality is that contact tracing has not proved to be as fruitful, I think, as they had anticipated. And, you know, I will say, really, upon reflection, that the group that I would think that our nurses would still try to contact trace for would be the little preschoolers who are not yet vaccinated and who are probably the most likely group to have trouble with masks. And so their parents are probably more in the dark about, you know, spread at school. So I think that we would try to make an effort to do contact tracing there. So we're moving away from those two things, which is what we are doing in exchange for taking on this new program that will give more people in our district, we hope, an opportunity to be tested twice weekly. I'm happy to answer questions. I'll stop right there and I'll open it for questions. Megan may have something to say that I missed, so I'll just
Okay,
pause.
Ben, you had questions?
Just a quick one. Last meeting, I think we talked about this kicking in as of March 1st, or
Yeah.
are we doing this right now?
We're doing this right now because the governor threw that curveball at us last week. And
Okay.
by signing up for the new program, you have to let go of test and stay and contact tracing.
Okay. And what's the process for families to sign up? Is it just you're just good to go? How does that work? Because I think it'd be nice for families to really be clear about that.
Yeah, so thank you. So we sent out a message to families last week with a simple link that they needed to click into to sign up. We did one for staff, we did one for families. We have about 500 people that have signed up so far. It's not near the almost 1,200 that we have signed up for pool testing. So I would like to see that number go up. And this week, the principals are sending out messages to families to remind them to sign up. And again, if anyone has any challenges, Jean Libby will put something out on social media. She can also help anybody that needs to sign up. But it is an additional opt-in on top of pool testing. So if you already signed up for pool testing and you think, well, I'm all set. No, you need to sign up for this as well. So it's a second
That was my
sign up.
question. That was
Yes,
exactly my
yes,
question.
it's additional. Mhm. And I would say that most school districts across the Commonwealth are moving to this program because remember, test and stay was testing less and less because it's not for vaccinated individuals. So at our high school, where most of our students are vaccinated, most of those students would not qualify for test and stay. So in this instance, all of them can have test kits at home now and test themselves weekly. So it will hopefully catch more cases of the virus. Megan, did I miss anything on that?
No, I was just going to say what you just said, which is that even if we were continuing to contact trace, the nurses get a list of names, and then a small group of the people on their list end up actually having to do this test and stay program. Correct me, I think Amanda said it was something in the order of like 20 kids we're talking about who are part of the program and who are unvaccinated.
Yes.
So those are really the only
high
population
school,
that something's changing for. So for most kids, it will just mean you don't get an email when you're a close contact. But for those who have vaccinated kids, the email just says you were a close contact and you don't have to do anything now. But now you'll have a test that comes home and you can test essentially 2 times a week. It's like a little added layer of security.
Right. And we have a schedule that we'll disseminate to families where if your student is tested on Wednesdays, say at the high school, Wednesday is their day, then they would do their at-home test on Sunday. So it's kind of spread out throughout the week. And it's like that in all of the buildings, it's spread out.
And is there any reporting back on any of that, or is that all just held within the family?
No, families and staff are supposed to report positive results to the district. they can either call or there's a form where they can just go in and fill it in. But yes, I am responsible for documenting any cases to the Department of Ed, positive COVID cases that we have in the school. So I call all of them, and that's that message you get from me at the end of the week with the numbers. I've been doing that all year. So we hope that that continues. And it is a little bit of an honor system, hoping that families notify us. But so far this year, families have been very good calling the school when there's a positive case in their family. So, all right, and I will move to the other piece of COVID news, and this is around spectators at sporting events. We shut that down about 2 weeks ago when our cases were very high when we came back from the holiday break. And we said we would do a 2-week pause, and a lot of families provided a lot of comments about that 2-week pause. But the COVID Advisory Committee has been looking at that carefully again. They met today, and the discussion was that we would move to what other school districts are doing and have each athlete be allowed to have 4 spectators and no more. So we would not be opening this up to the general public. Students could attend, but they would have to attend as the guest of one of the athletes on the team, and there would be a sign-in sheet. So we'd like to move to that, because remember, this decision impacts children at all ages that take advantage of sports in Easthampton, because many of our rec teams and suburban teams use our facilities. So they've also had to follow our rules. And there are many parents of young little ones that would like to see their young little ones at practice, because that's what families do. That's what parents do. And I think that for those on the committee that have been in the Mountain View School gym, it is enormous. And there's plenty of opportunity for people to spread out, their little family cluster can be together, but then they can spread out 6 feet away from other people. And at the high school, I think that that can be achieved as well, with only allowing 4 spectators per athlete on each team. We'll have manageable crowds in that gymnasium for the site supervisor to oversee. So that's the proposal and the recommendation from the COVID response team. And that's what I would like to inform the Park and Rec directors and the basketball directors and our athletic director, unless this committee has some real strong opinions about that. And Megan, you were at the meeting today. I unfortunately was not there, so I don't know if you want to add anything.
I'll jump in and add that the initial reasoning was about contact tracing and the burden on the Department of Health. And there's been sort of some not really updates to contact tracing. The contact tracing situation is the same, but given the situation we're in, the Department of Health, and in particular Bridget, feels like she's able to handle what would potentially come from that situation. So that was sort of one of the things that we, we're talking with them about. If we have a crowd of 50 people, is that going to be okay, or is there going to put a huge burden on city resources and the Department of Health and send us out of control? And it was their opinion that it would not. So that really was part of that. And we also talked about encouraging folks to wear really high quality masks.
Oh, yes.
And having some available. If you have a crowd of 50 in a huge gym that has a capacity of a couple of hundred and everyone's wearing good masks, I don't feel too concerned about that.
Right, and it's my understanding, we have surgical masks that will be available, but the city health department also said that they would donate KN95 masks, I believe, and have them at the athletic events and encourage families to either choose that, or if they're not comfortable with that, at least a surgical mask. So thank you to the Board of Health, to the City Health Department and the Board of Health.
Ben?
And what's the time frame there? Are we doing 2 weeks again, or are we gonna just play it by ear according to the numbers and see how things look?
I think at least 2 weeks, but we'll take a look again in 2 weeks and see where we are. But I'm hoping that we've maybe started to turn a corner, and fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll see how it goes, and we'll reassess with the COVID response team in 2 weeks. They're meeting every 2 weeks right now. They did meet last week as well, but that was an emergency. So we can get them to look at the data again in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
We have kind of that same program at our school, home fans, but we don't allow outside fans. And then I'm looking every day at our games, and they keep changing school by school. Some allow spectators for away games, some don't.
Right.
Some, I mean, it's like crazy time. I know our athletic director just keeps changing it every couple of days. We get a new email saying this is currently what is allowed by different schools. So I think a 2 week, look at it, I'm hoping is good. I'm hoping it doesn't have to be a 1 week turn, but that's what I'm seeing at our school, from the districts that we're playing, is that sometimes we're changing each week. 1 week we can, next week we can't.
Right. And I think that the pause had a purpose. I think it was just a reminder to everyone to, let's get this under control. Let's do what we need to do as a community, families of athletes. Let's get this, addressed and turn the corner a little bit. And our numbers have gone down in school, and I know as well in the community. We don't know if that's a fluke right now, or if that's, hopefully the beginning of a trend. So that's what we really need to monitor. But again, I want to make sure that we're cognizant that the decisions that I make around spectators don't just impact the high school athletes. It's also the families of five-year-olds and six-year-olds who are going into Mountain View Gym for the first time to meet a coach that they've never met before, to play basketball in that big, huge gym. It can be a little intimidating. So I really want to be mindful of those families as well, and provide some options for them to get into the school and be there for their children. And then of course we have children that, have health challenges, and we want families to be able to be there to monitor that as well. So I think if we do this in a responsible manner and really limit the number of people that can be with an athlete, then I think that will put some parameters around it. We don't want to land there forever, but I think it's a good start.
The other thing that we discussed is that this is a nice sort of bridge to getting folks back into spectating. The key thing here that really makes this feasible is that there won't be that, unfortunately, that big student section. That's probably what would be the most sort of dangerous or risky situation in terms of spectators. That won't be there. So, the folks who just are trying to watch their family members, that's a different risk level.
Any other
So I don't know if
questions?
anyone has any comments. Those are my 2 COVID updates. And I am all set then. Thank you.
Okay.
I have one question, please.
Yep.
So now that we're not going to be doing the pool testing, what's going to be going on with the athletes and testing? Are they just not going to be testing?
So we are still doing pool testing.
Okay, so with the athletes, they're still going to be doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to make sure. And can we keep making sure that people wear masks correctly? And especially the athletes. I mean, it was pretty ironic that the reminder when they had reported on our meeting when we were talking about the athletes. And I talked about how many athletes were unmasked in that same newspaper. All the pictures from basketball games were all with players whose masks were all down. And it was just noticeable that it's true. Not that they all do it intentionally, but I just worry we're still in the spike that they are adhering to proper masking while playing, which is very hard.
And just to make sure, Lori, that you caught this part, that both of those programs will still be in place. So the weekly PCR testing is ongoing. And this is in addition to that, these rapid tests that go home for student and staff. So everyone now who opts in can get tested 2 times a week. And with the rapid test at home, which is that added layer of sort of security, of peace of mind.
And can you just clarify when the transition is happening, when we're starting this?
Yes, so staff have the opportunity to begin this week with the at-home tests. And we order the tests for students this week. They'll be delivered next week, and then they'll go home with the children next week so that they can start later on next week.
I'm sorry, I was
So
actually
it's
asking about the sports, this masking at sport events.
Oh, for the spectators? I'd like to allow them to begin doing that as early as tomorrow. I'd like to inform the athletic director and the Park and Rec department so that they can happen soon.
Any other questions, concerns?
Are we voting on any of those topics, or are they just information?
Just information.
Yep. All right, and I mean, if we had some big concerns, that might be a different story, but I think this makes sense. And I'm glad it's only going to be for a couple of weeks than just checking how things are going. I mean, that's the biggest thing. We've just got to watch the numbers. And if people behave and wear their masks, then hopefully we can do more. Ben, did you have some?
Is there a threshold in terms of like numbers where if we hit like, I don't know what the number is. No, I'm seeing you say no, Megan. Okay. That'd be helpful too. Just that like, bell goes off and now we can know that people can come to the games, but I'm just curious.
It's a really tricky
No,
one.
I did. Yeah, and I did ask the city health director back over the Christmas break if there was a threshold, and she said no, there really wasn't. And I think, I would say, not being an expert in this, but probably a different threshold exists for the Mountain View gym than for the high school gym, because the Mountain View gym is just enormous. So I mean, I think that the point is there are so many factors you have to take into account. So we'll just have to continue to monitor it.
The things that I think they are keeping in mind, that I keep in mind, are what's happening in the hospitals and our healthcare system, and then what can Bridget and Bree and the department handle. So it's, and that's getting increasingly, thankfully, decoupled from the number of cases. So we can have, like, when we had 50 or 70 cases per 100,000 population a year ago, we were really worried. Now we have 200 plus, but it's so decoupled from the hospitalization rates that we are in it's really hard to set a threshold.
Anything else? Okay, we're going to go on. Can we have our student update?
Hello. So a few quick updates. So as of right now, Student Council is finished with our early winter activities, and we are in the planning stages for more events that will take place throughout the year. Last time I talked about how we had a bunch of activities planned for the week before break, and I'm very happy to say that we have received a lot of positive feedback from students and faculty about those events and how they would like to see them happen again in the future. Hot Chocolate Day in particular was a big favorite. So next, we have formed a few committees in Student Council to help us with organizing our goals and plans. These committees are the Spirit Committee, the Fundraising Committee, the Community Service Committee, and the Activities Committee. We hope that by creating these groups that focus on specific topics, we will be able to interest more students in joining the Student Council, and we will be able to do more for our school community. Right now, we are planning a Spirit Week for February 14th through the 18th, which is the week right before break. Some ideas that we have for Spirit Days are Future Fashion Day, Summer and Winter Day, Meme Day, and Clue Day, the board game Clue, just in case anyone was wondering. And then more events and activities will follow this Spirit Week, and I will update you when we are further along in our planning on that. And finally, I just want to note that Student Council is starting a Spirit activity where every Friday we all wear our Student Council sweatshirts to school, and we encourage all students to wear their Easthampton High School swag and Eagle sport shirts to provide more school spirit. So that is all I have for right now, and thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, policy.
So
Lori?
we have not met because I'm still waiting to hear if we have any new policies from MASC to even look at. I want to make sure, I know Sue's on the call, or if Allison can just clarify my name and email, have they been given? Because I haven't received anything. And I just don't know if Shannon's name is still the one who's getting these new policies, or just nothing has come through. And it would be helpful also to know if things were sent since like October, because I have no access to that.
Follow through.
Oh, is Sue on the phone? Is Sue on the line?
Sue's in the meeting.
Okay, I can just say, Laurie, that I have not received any information on new policies. So, whoops. So I'm not sure. I think Sue has added your name, but again, that would be a question for her. So I'm not really
Okay.
sure.
Okay, well, one of the things we can do is just email Sue to make sure your name is added.
And I did that, and I know how responsible Sue is. So, you know, it's the new year. Maybe things just haven't come through.
Yeah, maybe just slow down a little. Okay. All right, finance.
We have not met since the last meeting. We'll be meeting on the Monday right before the next meeting though. So we'll have something to start to report back at our next meeting.
Ben, collaborative.
We are meeting tomorrow, so
Uh-huh.
next time I'll tell you all about it.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Okay. So COVID advisory, Megan, is there anything you need to add?
I went through my little list here. I think Dr. Claire said this, contact tracing is not going to continue in an official way, but the nurses on the call today and last week both said that they'll be continuing to kind of do unofficial contact tracing for the littlest ones. I think that's what Dr. Claire said, our preschoolers and kindergartens who aren't eligible, and for those who are high risk or medically complex, or who are unvaccinated. So they kind of, it's a small enough group of kids that they can kind of keep that in their minds. And the nurses expressed that they felt comfortable that they would be able to sort of, do some smaller version of contact tracing around that. And they also reported something like 472 family or students have opted in to the rapid testing new program. And that's quite low. So hopefully that advertising will help. I did see that an order went in for some of those high quality masks from the school. So that's really great. I think none of them have come in yet though. But you know me, I've been pushing for the past couple of weeks for on the city level and at the district level for us to have those high quality masks available. And I think they are en route for both adults and for kids, both sizes. And then the other thing I was going to do is, if it's helpful, I can give an update on percent vaccinated by age group. I brought that information up just so we could see what's what. So our lowest percent vaccinated is our youngest kids, ages 5 to 11. Only 53.7% of our 5 to 11-year-olds in Easthampton are vaccinated. These are numbers for the city and not specifically for the school. There's no reason to think it would be majorly different. So this is a good estimate for the schools. 80.4% of our 12 to 15-year-olds and 79.8% of our 16 to 19-year-olds. So really pretty good vaccine uptake in 12 and above, and really pretty low at this point in 5 to 11-year-olds. So there has been talk of another booster clinic. I don't think anything has been scheduled yet, but I know the city is working on their end for some mobile vaccine clinic, and maybe that will help. Do you have any more information?
Dr. Leclerc?
I was just going to, you reminded me, I am meeting with Bree from the city and Lauren Devine from Northampton for a walkthrough on Thursday at Mountain View, because we're trying to schedule another clinic, vaccine clinic. This one will be held at Mountain View, and we're hoping to do all ages, all school ages. We're hoping to do older kids for the first hour or two of the clinic, ages 12 and up, and then do a reset for about a half hour, and then do 5 to 11-year-olds, like from 4 to 5:30 or 4 to 6 in the afternoon. So that's what we're working on. So more information to come on that.
Hopefully that will help boost those numbers up. And at this point, our 12 and up, all ages over 12, are eligible for booster doses if they are 5 months out. So helping families navigate, is my 12-year-olds eligible? Is it a good idea? Maybe we can include some information. The COVID advisory team hasn't talked in depth about that part of it, but I'm sort of throwing that in here, that we can provide some education. And then the last thing I noted is that 3 weeks ago, in the city dashboard, there was, I gave an estimate of, given our high numbers, what that probably means in terms of numbers of folks who are seriously ill in our community, and that we didn't get confirmation of those numbers, but exactly, but the Department of Health did say those are sort of in the ranges. So if you're curious sort of about what the community spread looks like right now, that sort of 80%-ish with mild cases, something like 14% pretty darn sick, and then something like 6% hospitalized is about in the range. That it does include young adults, like 30 to 40-year-olds, but at this point is not pediatric cases in that group. So those are my updates.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Safety, Aaron?
We have not met. There's been a request from the teachers union directly for a request for a meeting.
Yep. And wellness, Lori?
So I would still like to form a new wellness committee, and Dr. Leclerc, maybe we can speak in the next week on who to invite to that, and maybe schedule it for the middle of February or whenever you feel would be best, and include the same array of people that was included in the past. So if anyone on this call is interested, please contact me. And, you know, we deal with things like nutrition, health and wellness, such as the walk and roll events, and and vaping, which is also a major concern. We have the Healthy Youth Coalition involved with the Wellness Committee. So even though we're still in COVID, these are all things that we should be moving forward with, these discussions. But I would like to say I'm so happy that now we're going to have our first winter walk event. It will take place next Wednesday, which is February 2nd, and that is the National Day, and it's also sponsored by Mass Department of Transportation, Safe Routes to Schools. In fact, I just sent an email to Lucy because when I signed up, our middle school, I couldn't even put in Mountain View yet. So it still says Whitebrook, but this will be the first Mountain View event. And we did decide just to keep it for the Mountain View students because it is winter. And Dan Stern and Meredith Belize and Scott Kavanaugh are all already helping. And they had a wonderful idea to motivate people to participate. They are going to provide hot chocolate from Dunkin' Donuts at the safety complex from 7:15 to 7:30. So once again, these are for the Mountain View students, okay? And we will plan another huge spring event to motivate people when we know that the weather will be good, hopefully, and there won't be ice and we can do more things, but and there won't be bike riders for this event either. We decided to make it safe. It should just be a walking event. And they also suggested that instead of the normal route, which goes all the way down the bike path to South Street, they would like to stop at the Lasone Rink and go up onto Park Street and carefully walk the sidewalk where we hope to get a grant to be able to connect routes and expand the bike path for a safe way to our new school. So we'll be able to do all those things. So once again, please participate if you have middle schoolers. Next Wednesday, February 2nd, we meet at the safety complex. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we are on to other, and the first thing we have under other is the DESI letter.
Yeah, I'll be honest, and just frank, Ben and I were not able to meet, also with the governor's announcement. There just seemed to be things changing pretty quickly. Obviously, as a lot of different pieces have already been reported back. And so we have not been able to sort of reanalyze what we might want to be trying to say or how we might want to approach that. So Ben and I did not start that. I don't believe any of us anybody sent in any recommended bullet points for that either. And so I'm not sure, again, just sometimes the wave moves fast and not sure if there is something that we should be trying to say, or, I mean, it's, we obviously have lots of opinions and about how the state has done things or lack of doing things at different times. But if there's opinion that we should still try to put something together, I'm definitely open to it, but it got sort of left for us to do and didn't get any other inputs. So maybe just take a moment to talk about it now if there's other thoughts.
I agree. Anybody? Well, I have a couple of questions. Do you and Ben plan on meeting at some point soon to talk about that? Or are you basically feeling that the way things have been changing so quickly, your tendency is to say, skip the letter entirely? I'm wondering what the two of you are thinking.
I mean, I guess before the governor got up and made his sort of decree, it seemed like there might still be space for conversation and for, us as a committee across this, in the Commonwealth to be able to say, this is what we think in the direction. Now that it's sort of taken that next big step with the decree on a number of these things, and we've removed contact tracing, we've removed test and stay. While I think we should be trying to keep as many tools in our toolbox as possible and active. I hear definitely the direction that we're going, the direction that our COVID advisory committee is suggesting that we go in. And I guess I'm not sure if there is a direct reason for us to put forward a letter at this time. Ben, but you want to speak to this as well?
Yeah, I'm happy and I feel energized to speak to DESI to just sort of state where we're at and how we're feeling, even if they're changing the game at any given time. But it would be cool to hear from the group in terms of things that we want to specifically say. I can definitely come up with a few different points And Aaron, I'm sure can as well, but it'd be fun to really present something that's cohesive from our, from our team. But if it's not, if maybe we've moved on. I mean, perhaps maybe we've moved past it, and maybe we want to write about things like MCAS. Who knows,
Lori, Megan, Mayor, anybody? Megan?
Yeah, I do have one thing that I would add to the letter. I think it's kind of a bummer that to get our district into the rapid testing program, they took the test and stay off the table. I get why they did it. The numbers make sense that Dr. LeClaire presented, that they presented to the superintendents, but it would be nice if the option was left on the table. But and the rapid tests, I think, are the way to go. I really stand behind that decision in terms of the safety of the community. But for that small group of unvaccinated kids, it really would be nice to be able to continue test and stay.
Lori?
My feelings have not been a secret ever about how I feel about how things are handled. But even just following the MASC email list, and just there are such different opinions throughout this Commonwealth, even here, in the western part of the state. When you were talking about the pool testing, I'm thinking, oh, that's going to disappear, because I don't even see pool testing in my school. I never did. So, and I'm 25 minutes away. So these are such discrepancies on how things are handled. And one of the reasons it's handled that way, because there's been no direction from our governor nor from DESE. So we've had to deal with this. We've had to deal with our community having different opinions, and it never should have been that way. So they should have made decisions that were followed throughout the Commonwealth. And I think that is my biggest gripe with how this has been handled.
Mayor, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I just appreciate yes, I guess I'm talking, so I have something to say. I just appreciate Maren and Ben thinking about the letter and certainly take their direction about, okay, hold off because things change so much. I feel like this committee and Ben and Maren will soon find other things that we should be writing to DESE about. So thank you for, I guess it's, I'd like a rain check, because I think that'll come up again.
Hey, we could write a
Rain
weekly,
check, I like it.
we could send out a weekly missive, very easily. There's lots to talk about.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with the letter not being done right now. I haven't been happy with the way we've gotten direction from DESE all along. And but I think that at this point where we are, I'm not sure we can change much, even if we just contact them. And I think perhaps we just save it for a time when we really have an important issue. But I'm totally okay with if you end up writing one. Bring it forward to us, and we'll look at it. And I'm sure it would be great. But I do agree. I think things are happening so quickly. Just telling them that we haven't had the direction and the support that I wish we had. It's almost like they'd say, "So what? Okay." They really, the burden that they put on communities is that they left it to communities to make each decision, each painful decision, without any real guidance and support. And so some communities, I think, have done a really nice job of taking care of everybody, and some have not. And I'm not sure that we're going to change that with a letter. So I'm going to just toss that right back in your laps. Yes, if you want to, I would support it. And if you don't want to, I would support that too. So, and I would take that rain check that the mayor wants to give you. Megan?
I'm not under any illusions that our letter will change their mind, but there is, I get the program officially starts next week. It does feel manipulative, and this is not their first instance of taking away something in order to join some other program.
I agree.
And it's not, I mean, it's a burden on the nurses. I'm not trying to be glib about it, to do test and stay. But to not even have the option is a bummer.
I agree.
Yeah, again, just from my own perspective, I think that there was a moment in January where people were having a lot of different thoughts, and there was different directions things could go. And it felt like in that moment, if we had been able to move really fast, get a letter together, and had another meeting to be able to approve it, to send it, there would have been a moment where we could have at least been speaking into a moment of uncertainty from the state. But now that the governor has spoken and Destiny's put forward these protocols, it's kind of like, and yeah, the program hasn't started yet, but the guidelines are there, the directive is there. So we can do something in reaction and say, yeah, we don't agree with this. We wish we still had more tools, but I don't feel like that's, again, a moment where we're helping create policy. It's just a reaction, and they're gonna be like, okay, nice, and toss in the wastebasket, right? So I just think there's another moment, taking the rain check idea, we definitely want to be proactive when we feel like there's a moment that has more uncertainties and we should speak into it as a school committee. Let's definitely try to move faster in that time. And I certainly own myself too. It's been a very busy last couple of weeks, but it just, that window sort of closed really fast all of a sudden. It just at this moment doesn't feel like a moment to try to put, there's no advice or direction that we can help sort of push the momentum at this moment with, so.
Okay, I agree. Okay, do we have any other? Megan?
I have two others. So I read the email that came in from the Ewings, and then followed over the link through to that Wait Till 8th program. And given, it's not one of my areas of specialty, but the research that I have seen on the real potential harms to our young folks related to social media use, particularly early social media use, and also that the Surgeon General came out over the summer with the crisis amongst teens and young folks in terms of their mental health. I wonder if the Wait to 8th program is something to think about supporting. My understanding from the website, and this is the extent of my knowledge, is that there's not much that has to be supported. It's not like a financial program, or it's just sort of encouraging it and talking it up and saying the district is behind it. So I'd be curious to hear if others are also into that idea, if that's something the school committee has any role in.
Lori?
That seems like something the wellness committee could take up.
Would love that.
I was just thinking that. Dr. LeClaire?
Yeah, a caution. We've had some internal dialogue around this, and while I think it's a program that may be appropriate for a grassroots campaign, I'm not sure as a school district that we want to take it on, because as a school district, I think that we promote equity as much as possible. And I think that this program is may put some guilt on families that have a need for children to have cell phones. We've had some very strong opinions internally from staff that say, well, my child is in a two family members, both parents work, or a single family situation, a single parent situation, and they need a phone. They need to call and check in with their parents and let them know that they're home. Many of our families do not have landlines, so a cell phone is necessary. And so I just want to say that I don't want us to take on an initiative that is more for families that have the luxury of having the ability to not have the child have to have a cell phone, because for many families, they do have to have a cell phone. Even my own children who are in their 20s now had cell phones before 8th grade because both parents worked and they went home and they had to call when they got home. So that's a reality for many families. And I don't want us as a school district to take up something that would make some families feel guilt or as if they were not part of our community because they needed to do that.
Yeah, I would definitely not want that to be the outcome. And again, I'm just having read this email and clicking through the website. My understanding of it is that it's not about cell phones, and that part of what they do, I believe, is educate about what type of cell phone has the texting and calling capabilities. Like, what's the name of the gizmo? I can't remember. It was in on that frequently asked questions part, a gizmo or something where you can make calls, but you don't have access to things like Instagram and unfettered access to the internet and that kind of piece. I'm totally with, I mean, 2 working parents here, my kids are absolutely going to have to check in and make phone calls and no landline. But I don't know. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe that actually increases equity if we can be helping families find these cheaper options like the gizmo or whatever these cell phones are that don't have smartphone capabilities and the social media access. I don't know.
So that's my understanding. And so like our district had done a Wait to 8 campaign for that reason, that there are phones that you can own and that your kids can own that do not have to have all the capacity for social media.
And I think they're
There is
less
a
expensive.
difference.
I think they're actually less expensive
They are.
monthly and like as the device.
Yep. We can't take any comments from the public. Lori?
So once again, I think that deals with wellness and social emotional
Yep.
well-being. And I think it would be very appropriate to bring up all of the different aspects of this issue with that committee. What do you think about that, Dr. Leclerc? Because I value everything you just said, but I think it is something that we could discuss in wellness.
I think that's absolutely a fine idea.
I was
Ben?
just jumping in around the question of equity, which I think is legitimate and a potential concern. And my question has always been around this issue related to curriculum and what students are learning and when. And I've been thinking about things like digital literacy and trying and hoping, because I don't know exactly what the format is, but when do kids learn about addiction to the internet? When do kids learn about how to critically navigate websites, social media, those kinds of things? And is it possible to, address those potential equity issues by having the curriculum, work that they're doing in classrooms around these issues to kind of build awareness, to build that critical thinking skill that they most certainly will need when they do get a phone, whether it be 8th grade or before. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So someone told me that it's not till like 7th grade that they start doing like digital literacy questions. I don't know if it's that late, but I really would love to see it actually happen much earlier, like potentially 3rd grade. I'm talking to a lot of 3rd grade parents right now who are saying that their kids are like hooked into YouTube in a way that is incredibly problematic and all encompassing. And I think it would be really fantastic if our classrooms could tackle that a little bit and try to discuss a little bit about what does it mean that some of us can't consume anything else other than these rapid fire videos and what is an algorithm and major questions. But I actually think our kids at a certain age could definitely handle that and would benefit from that much earlier than 7th grade. So Wait till 8th is, I think, really valuable, but it's not going to work for everybody. But if we were in the classrooms and actually kind of wrestling with this, that'd be pretty great too. Just curious, just thinking about that.
I think it would be a great topic for a future presentation. I think that Julianne could do a presentation about some things that we've done, some plans that we have going forward. I think that would be beneficial. That might be a topic that would be interesting to not just the committee, but also the community as well.
I just wanted to add
Megan?
on to what Ben had said, including what to do or sort of how to react when they come upon these images. Some of these studies show that our children find offensive, however you define that, material far sooner than we think they do, and often by accident. And so what do you do when you see nudity or fill in the blank? I'd love to see that addressed too. Sounds like a great wellness committee and maybe a wellness Julianne presentation. I think the more we can be helping families come up with ways that they are empowered to help their kids through this time period, the better.
Yep.
And I do
We can do
agree.
that.
I think if we're worried about our social, emotional well-being for our students, we need to address the issues that Ben was talking about. And we need to start at an early age. I mean, there are some young ages we don't need to start at, but there are appropriate times where we really need to begin to have that conversation with our students in the classroom. So
Yeah, I would love to
carve
learn
out a
more.
little bit of time.
I'd love to learn more about the way we're handling that at the classroom level. And I know that like we're sort of like constricted by what the state requires each grade level has to do. But this would be one of those places where it would be really great to like assert ourselves and craft our own approach. Because I know it's really relevant to a lot of families at least from my vantage point, which is limited. Third grade is not everything for sure, but it would be great to talk about them more and do some things about it.
Megan, did you say you had two things?
I do, yes. The other that I have on my list is that I attended a PTO meeting in the last week and wondered what the committee thought about if one of the school committee members is getting updates from the PTO or attending and sort of listening to PTO meetings and reporting back on sort of what PTO is up to. If that sounds agreeable, I'd be happy to alternate with somebody or, take turns with a larger group of attending or getting those updates. But I did want to say that it was pretty exciting to see that they are planning another scavenger hunt for our families for this February break. And it would have a similar format of, I think it's Thursday to Sunday or Thursday to Saturday, and then Sunday is the prize, something along those lines. Don't quote me, there'll be lots of advertising for it. They also were part of the group that welcomes kids into the new middle school on the first day. They talked a lot about how their biggest thing they need are more people and parents who are interested in helping. And they reminded me that they have a Facebook page and that they are connected on Amazon Smile. So for those who use Amazon frequently, you can pretty easily somehow connect. If you type in amazon.smile, something along those lines, you can select the PTO and some portion of what you buy gets donated. But more information, I think it's sent home in newsletters about that. And if the school committee thinks that that's something you want to hear updates on, I can keep reporting back and tell you what they're up to.
I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you, PTO, for making fun events for February. We did the scavenger hunt last year and it was a lot of fun.
Any other?
I just want to mention one thing. So the Easthampton Learning Foundation just sent out that great email and saying, hey, we do all this. So if you are subscribed to Notify Me and the general text stream, you'll be getting, I think today, the first one went out the text and email that says, what is ELF? And it kind of gives a blurb. And then we break down over the next like 3 or 4 days, their specific programs to just get the word out to the general community. So and would be happy to do that for PTO sanctioned events. And to put it on the city side outside of what the district does already in the principals.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. So let's go on to our matters for action. And that is you, Megan.
That's me. I'm looking for unmute. I have a few things here. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 11th, 2022 regular meeting with a stipulation to withhold executive session minutes until matters are resolved.
I'll second that.
Okay, Megan,
Megan Harvey, yes.
Lori,
Garcia, yes.
Mayor LaChapelle,
Mayor LaChapelle, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Maren,
Aaron Goldstein, yes.
Cindy Kuzensky, yes.
All right. I would like to make another motion to approve the accounts payable authorization for payment dated 1/13/2021, which I think should be 2022, in the amount of $297,984.66.
I approve. I second that with your addendum.
Okay, Megan, good catch.
Megan Harvey, yes.
Lori,
Garcia, yes.
Mayor LaChapelle,
Mayor LaChapelle, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Aaron
Maren,
Goldstein, yes.
Cindy Kuzensky, yes. I see the same problem with the next one too.
I'm in the midst of also writing all of my 2022s as 2021s just to really be a cliche in January. So I get it. I look for it. I'd like to move to approve the school payroll dated 1/13. It says 2021. I'm amending that to 2022 in the amount of $566,246.25.
I second that.
Megan,
Megan Harvey, yes.
Lori,
Garcia, yes.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, yes.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, yes.
Aaron
Aaron.
Goldstein, yes.
Cindy Kuzensky, yes.
And our fourth action item is a motion to approve the change to the school calendar, which we already voted on. Do we need to do that again?
This is the one that has to do with the Maple School Makeup Day change. And no, I don't think we need to vote on that. We've already done it. So
Then that's my last one.
that was easy. All right, our next meetings will be February 8th, March 8th, March 22nd. And we will have our regular meetings and public hearing on the school budget, April 12th and 26th, May 10th, May 24th, and June 14th. So those are our upcoming meetings. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, Megan, sorry.
Megan Harvey, good night.
Lori,
Buenas noches.
Mayor,
Mayor LaChapelle, aye, and good night.
Ben,
Ben Hersey, good night.
Maren.
Aaron Goldstein, yes. Good night.
All right, and Cindy Kuzensky, aye, and good night. And thank you, everybody, for being here. See you at our next meeting.
Be well.